Welcome back to another episode of Bucks Latest presented by Fan Arch. As always, I'm your host, Dean Simon. And before we get into everything, please make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below, and also subscribe. Not on the road to 1,000 subscribers, now on the road to 2,000, thanks to you guys. So if you want to press that big red button down below and continue to follow me along on that journey, I would really appreciate it. Also, turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on future episodes. Okay, we're here. We did it. Jason Tatum. We are here. The Milwaukee Bucks played their first preseason game before the beginning of the 2025-26 regular season, and it was a win. So that does indeed mean the Milwaukee Bucks will be raising the Larry O'Brien Trophy at the end of the year. So now that we have that out of the way, we don't need to stress, and we can go on with no worries. But no, the Bucks beat the Heat 103-93, and they did build up a good lead in the first half, and then the Heat kind of stormed back a little bit on the back of Norman Powell, who scored 18 in the first half, and by the end of the night, Khalil Ware for the Heat had 18 and 13 boards. But we're going to talk about things from a Bucks perspective because it's what we do around here, and they took the win. And it was largely due to Myles Turner making his Bucks debut, which we'll get into, but Kevin Porter Jr. was fantastic, electric from start to finish, or at least start to when he was taken out of the game. AJ Green hit a couple big threes. Who else? Who else? Cole Anthony was great with pushing the pace. Ryan Rollins was great on both ends. Kyle Kuzma, for one, while he may not have shot the ball very well. He made his first shot, and then I guess he went on to miss his next five. He finished 1 for 6. His 2 points and 8 rebounds really told me something from a box score perspective, but from the eye test, it seemed as though Kyle Kuzma was a lot more locked in and engaged. Again, from the opening tip, it just seemed like he was really subscribing to the idea of kind of point five basketball, where you get the ball and you have point five, basically half a second, to make a decision whether you're going to shoot, pass, attack the rim. What are you going to do? So he was quick with making his decisions, and he was just pressing up on defense. He just seemed a lot more engaged to start this year. And again, the shots didn't fall, but he was attacking the rim. He made a great skip pass to the corner in, I believe, the second half for I think it was a Ryan Rollins three. So he had his eyes up. He did get rejected by Bam Adebayo on that one play, but again, just very active. He was looking to attack the basket, and that's what you like to see out of Kyle Kuzma. The shots didn't fall, but that's just what it was. But the main thing that I want to talk about with this game is that if you took all of the different talking points from media day and then the days leading up to this debut preseason game, from Doc Rivers, from John Horst, from Giannis, from everybody related to this Milwaukee Bucks team, they all, everything just came out perfectly on the court. What they practiced, and the kind of philosophy that they were thinking they were going to put on the court as their product, it just was pushing the pace, both after made baskets and after misses, turning what would have been last year just kind of regular possessions where they get the ball across half court at 17 seconds on the shot clock and then kind of go into their sets in the half court from there. Ryan Rollins running up the floor, getting a lead pass from Cole Anthony just completely elevates the Bucks' chances of getting something to happen very, very quick and kind of lead to a chain reaction by the opposing team's defense. Cole Anthony was very big with pushing the pace, but probably the biggest from the backcourt perspective was Kevin Porter Jr. Again, the point five basketball stuff, he was constantly looking around for ways to get others involved, driving to the rim, and he kind of did what I was talking about the other day, where you got to use the threat of him finishing at the rim to then get guys involved from a drive and kick perspective. Hit AJ Green for a couple threes. And speaking of AJ Green, I really liked the sets that they ran for him, and this was another way. Kind of all over the place right now. But this was another way that Kyle Kuzma was very effective in this game, and energized and engaged. And it's not all from a scoring perspective. He was, again, very active and competitive on defense. And he was always looking to do little things. He was great at setting off ball screens. One in the first quarter for AJ Green near the start of the game, where AJ was coming up on the left wing. Kuzma set an off ball screen. AJ caught and fired for a three that like bounced off the top of the backboard and then dropped in. But yeah, Kyle Kuzma was just great from that perspective. Kevin Porter Jr. had a great, efficient night from the field with 10 points and 4 assists. Shot what was it, 5 for 7 from the field? I have it right up in front of me right now, but I believe it was 5 for 7 that he finished. Yes, 5 for 7, one steal, two boards, and no turnovers for Kevin Porter Jr., which was one of my biggest talking points leading up to this first preseason game. Was that Kevin Porter Jr. towards the end of the playoffs last year was a great assist to turnover guy. In that first round playoff series, it was like 5.2 assists to 1.3 turnovers, and this was something that I was looking forward to him continuing going into this year, and he just completely proved me right in that instance. I hope he can continue to be a great assist to turnover ratio kind of guy when the regular season gets going. But now we're going to talk about Myles Turner, and he was probably, aside from Kevin Porter Jr., the biggest catalyst of how the Bucks were able to get their transition offense flowing so quickly and just turning made shots from the opposing team into fast break opportunities. And they clearly prodded Miles for his knowledge of the Indiana Pacers system and what it takes to really kind of get things moving from an offensive perspective, just how to get into their sets quicker, and it just seemed like everything was at such a faster pace. This wasn't even just pushing, running from end to end. This was in the half court where the plays everything just felt smoother and more compact. The ball was zipping from guy to guy, and even again, guys like Kyle Kuzma, who didn't necessarily shoot the ball well, he got the ball and then he made a quick decision of either I'm going to attack the basket or I'm going to keep this play organically flowing, give it to the next guy, maybe set a screen, run around, set another screen for a shooter coming off like a pin down, something like that. Kyle Kuzma made himself useful in those instances, and Myles Turner was again really just the main catalyst of that, because it's obvious that he's used to that kind of game plan, and he was able to take advantage of it. Finished this game with, I think it was 8 points, only 2 rebounds, which you wouldn't really like to see, especially as a guy like Khalil Ware finished with 13. But the rebounding has always kind of been a struggle for Myles Turner, or at least one of the kind of lower tier parts of his game, even though he's got great size. But finished with 2 blocks and a steal as well, 2 for 3 from the field. So Myles Turner, speaking now from a defensive standpoint, this was really where he made his impact. And even though he had the 2 blocks, there were countless times in, especially really to begin the game in the first quarter, where the presence and or the thought of him hanging around the rim on the defensive side of the ball, it led potential Miami Heat rim runners like who play in this game, Jaime Jaquez and Norman Powell, from, they kind of hesitated, and instead of trying to go to the basket at full force, they instead settled for more tough contested jumpers. And because Norman Powell is such a skilled tough shot maker, those were able to go down, and especially after he kind of got a rhythm with his first couple threes. Um, but other than Norman Powell, it didn't really seem like many guys were able to make those kinds of tough shots. And that really put, the presence of Myles Turner in the paint at the rim as a fantastic rim deterrent, put guys like Ryan Rollins in great positions to succeed, because if he is able to shut off his guy, then basically the play is dead. If he's able to shut off any kind of potential rim runner, then they're going to have to, pick up their dribble, take time off the shot clock, and kind of reassess where this possession is going. And in most cases, it completely ended the possession. So that was really something to watch. And from a little bit of a negative perspective, when Myles Turner was out of this game and Jericho Sims had to fill in as the backup five, he just looked completely out of place on several defensive possessions. There was one, namely, I think in the beginning of the second quarter, Drew Smith of the Heat was driving from the right wing against Ryan Rollins, and Ryan Rollins shut him off effectively and forced him to pick up his dribble maybe 4 to 6 feet away from the rim, kind of near the restricted area. But Ryan Rollins shut him off, and there was nowhere else for Drew Smith to go, and he had to look for another option. But for whatever reason, Jericho Sims, hanging around on the low block, just came over to inexplicably double team Drew Smith and left Khalil Ware wide open for a dunk. And Drew Smith wrapped the pass around Jericho Sims, who just completely lost track of Ware, and then he threw it down for a wide open dunk with a guy not within 3 feet of him. So Jericho Sims, he did not really impress me in that kind of standpoint as well, and he went scoreless for this game. Only attempted one shot, grabbed 2 boards, did have 2 assists, but a turnover as well. And he got a good amount of burn again for a preseason game, 15 minutes on the night, but just didn't really like what I saw defensively from Jericho Sims. So then maybe that's going to put a little bit more strain on Miles, but I guess we'll see what happens once with these next few games and with the actual season around the corner. Finally, we're going to talk about another backup big man for the Milwaukee Bucks, a guy fighting for a roster spot, and that's Pete Nance. Again, after a fantastic summer league showing where I also had his stats pulled up because I just couldn't believe the efficiency numbers for Pete Nance in his 4 games in the summer league. Through those 4 games, 14.3 points, 52.5% from the field, 40.9% from three, on 5.5 attempts from distance, only 67% from the free throw line, but 52-41 from a field goal 3-point percentage standpoint is nothing to shy away from or feel bad about. But what I loved from Pete Nance is that he was able to kind of notice when a play wasn't going anywhere, when he had more of an opportunity to kind of individually make an impact on offense. Again, there was one play in particular where he had the ball at the top of the key or around the top of the key, I think more on the left wing maybe, and he was looking around for a guy to hand the ball off to. It was one of those moments where a guy in the front court, he's looking for an outlet and he picked up his or he's about to pick up his dribble, doesn't really know where to go with it. So the defense kind of lost their attention on him, and he was able to step back for a wide open three on the left wing and can it. And maybe that's just because the Heat didn't do their homework. They didn't know that a guy like Pete Nance could knock down shots like that. But it was just so refreshing to see Pete Nance continue this hot streak. Finished as the Bucks' leading scorer for the game, I believe, with 15. Yeah, 15 on 5 of 9 from the field, 4 of 7 from three, grabbed 3 rebounds, dished 2 assists. Um, so man, it was just such an impressive performance from him, and really he did hold his own defensively somewhat against Ware. He did a much better job than Jericho Sims, and that's definitely the case. But Pete Nance really made a great first impression for this Bucks squad, and for a guy where for a team that John Horst said there's nothing that's set in stone, that they have 21 guys that are fighting for roster spots, and that, maybe one guy can really impress and turn heads throughout training camp and earn that spot. Pete Nance just did a phenomenal job at making his case to make the actual roster with a fantastic shooting night. And honestly, what you love most about a night like this is his confidence and his ability to recognize when the defense has just completely lost, their focus on him. And he was also a great trailer pulling up for threes. Pete Nance was just fantastic throughout this game, and I really, really can't stress enough how impressed I was with him. But otherwise, final thoughts from the first game of the season is that Kevin Porter Jr. was finishing at the rim with reckless abandon. He didn't make a three, he didn't attempt a three this game. All he was focused on was getting to the rim and either finishing a contested layup or getting his guys involved, getting AJ Green, Gary Trent Jr., who finished with 11 points on 3 of 6 from the field in this game as well. And he was fantastic. Cole Anthony, though he played in very limited minutes, even for Summer League, I think it was like 6 minutes or so. Cole Anthony came in and provided a big energy boost, which you could have figured that he would do in the role that he's about to play this season. Ryan Rollins did much of the same, zipping up and down the floor, ready to catch the ball on the break. He was kind of running up and down similar to how a big guy would, like how Myles Turner would. And he was ready to catch the ball mid stride, crossing half court, and then look for his options on the break. Ryan Rollins was fantastic in this game. And of course, Bucks built up a good lead in the first half, got chipped away, but then the guys at the end of the bench closed it out. Um, Chris Livingston, he had a great game as well. Finished 4 for 4 in a little less than 8 minutes of play. Andre Jackson Jr. only attempted 2 shots in 13 minutes. Gary Harris, I saw had 4 turnovers in 13 and a half minutes, and it didn't feel like, or not 13 and a half, in 12 minutes, and it didn't really feel like it. A game to forget, surely, for Gary Harris. 0 for 4 from the field and 4 turnovers, but that was really it. Those are my first takeaways from the first game of the Milwaukee Bucks preseason. They are undefeated, and hopefully they'll stay that way throughout the rest of the preseason. A great win without Giannis, though the Heat didn't have Tyler Hero, Davion Mitchell, and more. But still, fun to get back in the win column and to watch the Milwaukee Bucks do so. And we're going to be covering every or most hopefully every Milwaukee Bucks game this season. So I'm very excited to do that for you guys. So that's been Bucks Latest. Thank you for tuning into another episode, once again presented by Fan Arch, and I've been your host Dean Simon. Before you go, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment down below. What did you think about the Bucks' first preseason win of the year against the Miami Heat? And also press that subscribe button, turn on post notifications for future episodes, and I will see you guys in the next one. Go Bucks.